exactly the same in every feature and in every way as it was when I attended it 40 years ago. And in fact, he said that school has actually deteriorated, seriously deteriorated since I attended it. That talks to the enormous task that still lies ahead for our democratic government to try and improve education in our country. And SADTU has played an important role in highlighting some of these challenges, and it was SADTU that led the charge to protest against unequal education and unequal resource distribution. Having achieved so much, it would be a tragedy if SADTU was to relinquish the role that it has always played. But we are very pleased to know that SADTU is not about to relinquish the role it has always played. SADTU will continue to play the role it has played, the role it played before we attained our freedom, and the role it continued to play soon after our freedom, and the role you are playing as we are in the 23rd year of our freedom. And we want SADTU to remain alert, vigilant. We want SADTU to remain an activist union. And we expect SADTU, comrades, to remain a militant and revolutionary union, a progressive union. And it must be a union that will be relentless in safeguarding the interests of its members in the first place, but also the interests of those that are its immediate care, the learners in our schools, but more broadly society as a whole. We want SADTU to continue playing that important role that it has always played. But SADTU also has its job well cut out. It is a union that has to play a key role in improving the education in our country. And it is pleasing, Comrade President, to see that SADTU is excelling in building partnerships with other unions, building partnerships with a number of other role players. That, for me, is most pleasing. That SADTU does not see itself as an island. You see yourself as a role player that is joined at the hip with other key role players and indeed other unions as well. You've honored me by asking me to come and open your building. I feel deeply honored, particularly honored because as you opened your building, there was a statue of the father of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, and the wonderful inscription that you put above his statue, his bust. That is a true honor, and I thank you for it. But I also want to express my deep impression, I'm so impressed with what SADTU has achieved. For SADTU to have decided that you are going to have your own building, you are going to have your own space, a space that you call a village. Oh, a whole village that SADTU has acquired to build your headquarters, to build your institute, and to even build a hotel here which will accommodate your members as they come to this place. This is about building institutions. This is about building this union called SADTU as an institution that will endure, that will go on for years and years. The President and the General Secretary, when I arrived, said to me, we are doing this as members of SADTU to leave a legacy for those who will come after we have gone. And that is great, comrades. That I applaud you for. But I particularly applaud you for having built this building, acquired this village with your own funds, with your subscriptions that you pay as members every month. Now that is impressive. This is not money that was looted anywhere. This is not money that has been stolen from anywhere. This is your own money. And you are putting your money where your mouth is. You are putting your money where your union is. And this is about strengthening your union. And I applaud you, members of SADTU, for that. You are building an institution that will endure. SADTU is not a fly-by-night. SADTU is a durable union. It's a strong union. It's a powerful union. And I have said this in the past, that you are one of those rare unions in our country that has a membership base that covers more than 70% of the teachers in our country. I continue to applaud you for that. Keep it that way. I also want to applaud you for your unity. You are united. The President and the General Secretary were saying, Deputy President, we are a united union. And I applaud you for that. There aren't many unions, many institutions that continue to boast about unity. But let me talk about institution building. More than being a union, you are an institution now. And you are putting the roots in the ground, the foundation stones in the ground to be an enduring institution. You are a non-governmental organization, part of those organizations that have a safe place in terms of recognition in our national constitution. But you are part of those institutions that are there to safeguard our democracy, to safeguard what we have achieved as a nation. You must never think that you are just a union. You are an institution, and you exist to make sure that South Africa continues to be a stable country that it is today. And I want to urge you as SADTU that you must continue on that path. It is important that you as a union also act in defense of other institutions that we've got in our country. We've got a number of other institutions that were put in place in our constitution to safeguard our democracy, to ensure that we continue being stable. Some of those institutions are now being looked at from a certain point of view. Some of them are being attacked, some of them are being weakened, and some of them will be weakened in time to come. And we say, you as SADTU, we rely on you as being one of those institutions that is going to be there to support our democracy, to support our institutional base, to make sure that our institutions are never weakened. Whatever institutions they are, the judiciary is an institution that you, as SADTU members, must make sure it remains strong and independent, that no one must ever attack our judiciary and try to weaken it. No one must ever attack our public protector and weaken our public protector's office. No one must ever attack our Auditor General's office and weaken the Auditor General's office. Whether they are from KPMG, whether they are from the Guptas, wherever they are from, we must safeguard the strength and independence of our institutions, because some of them are under attack. We now hear that another institution that is critical in your lives, the PIC, is being looked at with some dangerous eyes. And we say that is an important institution that you, as members of the union, must safeguard and make sure that it is protected, because it is your money. The PIC manages your money. It is your pension money, and you, as members of the pensions, the teacher's pension, must make sure that whoever manages your money manages it properly, prudently, and your money must never be utilized for nefarious intents and actions. You must safeguard the PIC. You must make sure that the PIC remains strong, because it is workers' money. Unions like SADTU must make sure that our institutions remain sacrosanct. Our institutions are never utilized for political ends. Our institutions must always be used to advance the interests of our people as a whole, and they must never be used to advance the interests of certain people. You are the ones who must safeguard that. Workers must have a say in how their money is going to be used. You must also say, as workers, yes, we want to sit on the boards of those pension funds. We also want to sit, yes, on the boards of those companies that employ us. I know this is not a popular thing in South Africa today, but it works in other countries, where workers do sit on the boards of companies to determine the future of the companies that they work for. The wealth that has been built up in the provident funds, in the pension funds, is your wealth, and you need to have a say on how it is used. Your National General Council takes place in the month that we celebrate the centenary of the birth of a gigantic leader in the history of our country, Oliver Reginald Tambo, a dedicated teacher and an outstanding leader of our people. I have no doubt whatsoever that Oliver Reginald Tambo, if he were alive today, would have been a member of your union, without any doubt. He could possibly even have contested for the presidency of this union. When we page through the biography of this legend, we find a fine human being and a humble man who devoted his life to the struggle and the freedom of the people of our country. His vision of a united nation must inspire us and keep us all on course. During the ANC's most difficult years of exile, during the years of internal oppression and repression, Oliver Tambo was the glue that united the liberation movement. Many of the guests that you have brought here from the SADC states who were frontline states, from as far afield as Uganda, yes, as far afield as Norway, Canada, would know the role that Oliver Tambo played, because he traversed their countries, mobilizing support for our struggle. So they gained an intimate knowledge of who this legend is. No gleam, no glitter, gold or piece of silver could make this revolutionary patriot betray the cause of the poor people and the downtrodden people of our country. And as we prepare for the ANC's 54th National Conference, we must remain and maintain our resolve to remember the role that Oliver Tambo played. We must remain focused in our memory of Oliver Tambo, particularly when it comes to the values that Oliver Tambo stood for, the values that he lived by. We must remember the principles that guided Oliver Tambo in the work that he did in the interest of our people. Let us pay tribute to this great leader of our people by taking decisive steps to realize his vision of a new South African society. Let us pay tribute to this dedicated teacher by reaffirming our shared commitment to the education of the South African child. As we prepare for conference, we must recommit ourselves to the struggle for a national democratic society. We must recommit ourselves to achieving the complete liberation of all our people from all forms of oppression or exploitation. We need to accelerate the transformation process that needs to take place in our country, where we will be able to transform all forms of South African life, particularly those that are still held back by the ravages of the apartheid system of the past, particularly in the economy and particularly in the participation of our people in this economy that we seek to build. Let us make sure that as we do this, we're able to build a South Africa that will have inclusive growth for all our people, where we will be able to create jobs, where we will be able to rid our country of the inequality and the poverty that still affects so many of our people. Your role in all this, as teachers of our nation, is to make sure that we skill the South African child. Your role in all this is to make sure that we develop the skill base of our people, especially the young people in our country. And as we do so, we should do it on a massive basis. It must be broad-based, and it must be a program that all of us will focus on with a great deal of commitment to make sure that we obliterate the lack of knowledge, the lack of skills amongst our people. We look to SADTU to be amongst the central drivers of the skills revolution that our country needs. As Deputy President, I've been given the task to head our Human Resource Development Council, and in that council, we're dealing with the challenges that our country still has when it comes to skills development, artisan training, making sure that our teachers become so well qualified, making sure that the leadership in our schools is so good that we will continue producing good results. And as we do all this, as we skill our people, we then enable our people to begin climbing the ladder of economic empowerment. As they climb the ladder of this empowerment process, they become controllers of the economy of our country. They become owners of the economy of our country. And all this, colleagues, will be possible because of the foundation that you, as the teachers of the nation, will have laid. And we urge you to focus on laying that foundation. As you teach each child in your classrooms, as you give direction to the school as a principal, as you do everything as an official, we say focus on the one thing, and the one thing importantly, of skilling the South African child and making sure that that South African's child education becomes so competitive that we are able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the children from other countries from all over the world. This must be accompanied by a broad-based effort amongst you as the teachers of our nation to say, we want to advance the children of our country, and we are going to do it with a great deal of commitment and obsession. When we will have done this, it is then that our people will be able to reap the fruits of a developing South Africa, because then we get them to participate more actively in the economy of our country. As we build this economy, as we strengthen our state-owned enterprises, the people that you will have produced and trained then become active participants, officials, directors, operatives in our state-owned enterprises. It is then that we are then able to run those enterprises so efficiently. It is then that we are able to run them in a way that will make all of us proud. Right now, those state-owned enterprises control 30% of our economy. And let me say, they are not working as well as they should. There is a lot that is happening in those state-owned enterprises that needs to be fixed. And as we fix these problems in the short term, in the long term, we expect the people that you are putting through your hands to come and occupy key positions in those state-owned enterprises. And it is those people that you are training today who we expect to rid our state-owned enterprises of the corruption that is currently taking place there. It is those young people who we want you to train so well that they must subscribe to the best values, to the best principles, and also have the knowledge that as they work in those state-owned enterprises, they are not working for themselves, but they are working for the nation. They are not working for their own pockets, but they are working for the entire nation. That when they are there, they are not meant to be siphoning off hundreds of millions of rands into certain pockets, siphoning money without even invoices being issued and giving it to certain people. We want you to produce the best of South Africans that this country deserves. And we say it is in your hands. You play an important role, comrades, as the teachers of the future of this country. In your hands, you have the young people who are supposed to take South Africa forward to another level, and may I say a higher level. In your hands, you have the ability to mold them, to shape them, and to position them in a way where they will play a critical role in the life of South Africa, in the economy of our country. We want you to produce young men and women who, as they come into the companies that are spread out through the length and the breadth of our country, are able, have the great ability to be able to run those companies, are able to make sure that those companies create jobs, are able to make sure that the investment processes that takes place in those companies is so good. And it is those young people who today are in your schools, who today are in your classrooms. And I call upon you to make sure that we mold these young people. Today, our government is contributing a great deal to making sure that the lives of South Africans improves. And as it improves, we need people who are going to be acting in a positive way to make sure that indeed it improves. As we build houses, we want people who will be able to roll out more and more houses throughout our country, and it is those young people that you are teaching today. As our people require basic services, where they say we want service delivery, it is those young people that you are teaching today who should come out and deliver services to our people. And as we do all this to reduce the burden that is on the shoulders of our people, it is those young people who you are training and you are producing who will be able to do that. I applaud you for having chosen this profession as teachers, for having chosen to serve our people. And President and General Secretary, the majority of our teachers continue to serve our country with diligence. You continue to serve the people of our country with great commitment. And I stand here and I applaud you as the teachers of our nation, and thank you for the work that you are doing. And in many ways, you are not only part of SADTU, you are also part of the broad democratic movement. This broad democratic movement that the ANC has been given the responsibility, historic responsibility, to lead and to lead to a greater South Africa. The African National Congress has been given the responsibility to unite the people of our country towards the achievement of a national democratic society. And we need, as SADTU, as COSATU, as the ANC, the party, and SANCO, to focus on the motive forces for change in our country, particularly those sections of society that stand to gain the most from the transformation process that we are involved in. We also need to reach out to other sectors of society to unite all sectors of society in our country. And it is in this regard that once again I applaud you as SADTU for reaching out in the way that you are to various sectors, various organizations within your sector to work with them. And you were telling me, President and General Secretary, that you work so well with all the other unions within your sector. And indeed, you work so well with all the other unions within your federation. And we say, may that continue, because as SADTU, you are exemplifying precisely what we require from an organization that is involved with the lives of our people. Because we can only achieve great things if we are united, if we act together as a teachers' union, as SADTU, as the liberation forces in our country as led by the African National Congress. And it is only when we are united that we can thrive. Only an ANC that is united on principle can effectively pursue a program of fundamental transformation. You were telling me that the unity that you have forged in your own union is a unity that is based on principle. It's a unity that is based on what you do as a union and as members on an ongoing basis. Because unity is something that needs to be worked for. Unity does not fall from heaven. Unity does not just come from all over the show. It is a process that we need to nurture, that we need to work for. And we must therefore make sure that we focus on unity, and we must have the courage to acknowledge where there is no unity. And we must also have the capability to forge unity and forgo factions that divide our movement as it is dividing our movement today. We must also acknowledge that because there are factions within our movement today, we must immediately agree that we are going to do something with those factions. And that must not just be based on public statements from platforms like the one I'm speaking from. It must be action that we will take to rid our movement of factions, and we must do so practically. That we should be able to do by sticking to principle, by upholding the values of our movement, and by telling the truth. That is what we should be doing. Because we should not be telling lies to each other. We should be telling the truth to each other and put matters as they are with a view of ensuring that indeed there can be unity. Unity also will require that, yes, there must be give and take. You can never have unity if you say, I want everything to go my way. You should be willing to listen to the other side and make sure that having listened to the other side, you find a way of accommodating those that you may differ with. Recently, we have seen how the level of disunity amongst us has led to violence, has led to fighting, and we say forging unity is the best solution to the problems that may beset any organization. And comrades must find ways of finding one another, of sitting down and discussing issues. Challenges and problems are there to be addressed. And if we use this approach that there is no problem without a solution, we will then be able to forge unity amongst us. We should not use the desire for unity to ignore corrupt behavior and misconduct. We should never say, yes, let us unite, but ignore misconduct, misbehavior. We need, as we forge unity, to be able to frontally say, if there is misconduct amongst us, we must deal with it. If there is corruption of whatever sort, we must deal with it. And as we do so, we should then be able to forge unity. We should build real unity as I was saying, that is founded on principles and values and the transformative programs of the African National Congress. That means that we must conduct ourselves in a manner that, yes, does promote unity and be prepared to engage honestly with each other's views. We all have a responsibility, comrades, to ensure that we are respectful to one another, we are honest to one another, and in our engagement, we are constructive. If we are not honest to one another, and if we are not respectful to one another, we will never be able to forge unity. We cannot disrupt meetings. We cannot be throwing chairs, and we cannot allow any form of violence in our structures and hope to have unity. We must rid our movement of flying chairs, of disrupted meetings. We must rid our movement of all those types of behaviors. And we need, comrades, to act with seriousness to also stop the spate of killings that have infected some areas in our country, where we find that we are differing, as we differ on whatever issue. And sometimes mostly it's about how we can grab resources, how we can grab certain positions. And when we are competing for that, we then resort to killing one another. And it is in this regard, comrades, that the killings that are happening in various parts of our country must stop, and they must stop immediately, because if they don't stop, they blemish the African National Congress. Our people look at us and say, these people are so disunited, we cannot even be part of them. So in order for us to be attractive to our people, we need to have certain protocols, certain ways in which we behave, certain ways in which we deal with each other that will be promoting unity. Our people in general want a united movement. They want a united organization, and let us go and give them just that, because then they will support us. There is no position, no resource, and no office in the whole country that is worth killing for or dying for. If you want a resource or a position, it is just not worth dying for it. We live in a democratic country now where we've got freedom to speak as we wish, to act as we wish, and we must therefore bring all these actions, killings, and all those things to an end and restore the dignity and the reputation of our movement. As we move, comrades, towards our national conference, as I conclude, we need to build strong organization. We need to make sure that our ANC branches are strong, so strong that they are able to lead society and the communities that we live in. That is the most important thing that we have to do as comrades, as part of our alliance. The branch is the place where the ANC, and indeed, even in your case, the branch in SADTU is the place where SADTU engages most meaningfully with its members. And in broader society, it is where the ANC engages more meaningfully with the people of our country, where the organization is able to listen to the people in terms of their concerns, in terms of their needs, and in terms of their wishes and aspirations. And it is that gives us an opportunity to address those concerns. Organizations that are able to listen to their members are the organizations that survive the longest, live the longest, because they are connected to their membership. And today, I say, as we move to our national conference in December, we need to strengthen our branches. You who belong to ANC branches, make sure that those branches are alive, they are strengthened, and they live amongst our people, and they represent the views of our people. That is why the task of branch building is one of the most important organizational responsibilities that we all have. And it is through this that we are then able to restore the dignity and the discipline of our movement. The defining values of our movement is service, selflessness, honesty, and we must make sure that these are never eroded by factionalism, by patronage, and indeed by corruption as well. And we need, comrades, to demonstrate to our communities that ANC cadres care about the well-being of our people, above all else, that they listen, that they will act in defense of our people, and that they will humble themselves. So as we go towards our 54th conference, we have an opportunity to strengthen the movement and accelerate transformation. Our branches need to be actively involved in preparations for this conference. Now we are going to BGMs that are going to choose delegates that will go to this conference, delegates who will carry the mandate of the membership in our branches, the mandate in relation to policy, and also the mandate in relation to the political discussions that are going to take place in those places, in that conference, as well as the type of leadership that we want. Now, the political discussions are going to shape and mold the future trajectory of our country for the next 10 years and more. The whole world is looking forward to this conference with a great deal of anticipation. And I know that a number of you will be participating in that conference. Let us make sure that that conference is accorded the dignity and the stature that is becoming of the African National Congress. That the ANC at that conference will be determining the future direction not only of the African National Congress, but of the whole country as a whole. So I urge you all, as you participate in that, to know that we have this burden on our shoulders as members of the African National Congress. As all of you who are here, you know very well from whence you have come. You bear the burden of representing the branches of SADTU where you have come from. It is therefore critically important that as you participate here, and as some of you will participate in the conference in December, we should know what burden we bear on our shoulders. And everything that we do should be grounded and be guided by the principles that our movement have always adopted. Because we are not a Stokvel. We are not a beer hall type of organization. We are a movement that is guided by principle. Even as we go to choose leaders for our movement, we look at them and take them through the eye of the needle and say, can this one go through that eye of the needle? And if they can, then they go through. If they can't, we discard them. That is what guides us as a movement. And that is, in many ways, comrades, what distinguishes us, what separates us from many other organizations. Because we are guided by principle. We are also guided by an ideology that dictates that we are a progressive force in our country. So the whole country is looking forward to this conference, and it is a conference at which the ANC is going to be given an opportunity to correct its shortcomings, to produce outcomes that are going to take the country forward. And our people are looking for courageous, visionary leadership that understands their needs, that is prepared and able to work with them to realize their aspirations. And it is looking...
All right, well, those were live visuals straight from Kempton Park, where Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa was addressing the SADTU National General Council. He started by saluting all the teachers, as of course the world celebrates World Teachers Day today.
Armed with the policies that are going to emerge out of our conference. So, comrades, the process and the moment that we are involved in now, even as a SADTU, you sit here in your NGC, you craft your resolutions, you are part of this process that is going to lead to the renewal of our country, that is going to lead to the unity of our movement. And we want you to work for the unity of our movement and the renewal of the African National Congress and a future trajectory of our country that is going to put our country on a winning path. Right now, comrades, our people want...
Whatever challenges they are, working together is the only way to resolve them and rein the movement from flying chairs, killings, as well as total disobedience at member level. These were just some...
We want to build an economy that will be inclusive. This conference we are going to is going to give us that great opportunity of being able to do so. And we want all of us to approach this conference, whether you pray or not, whether you blow something that is good or not, that will just lift this conference, whether you burn some incense or not, whether you sprinkle water or not, we say do all those things to make that conference a successful conference. So, comrades, the ANC meets in December. As we refine our policies, we want the voice, as I conclude, the voice of SADTU must be prominent. The voice of our teachers must be heard. The voice of those who are preparing our children for a great future must be heard. You must also participate at that conference as members of the ANC in the discussions that will take place on the future of education in our country. For those colleagues who come from other countries, we expect some of your colleagues who are here to go and participate in that conference of the ANC and come forward with great ideas on how education should proceed. And we hope that you colleagues from Norway, Canada, Uganda, Zambia, Mozambique, and all over, you will help to sharpen their ideas so that when they go there, they're able to represent what is good about education and the role of teachers in our education system. And working together, we have made significant progress in redressing the inequities of the past. So we need you to put more shoulder to wheel to make sure that indeed we emerge with the best policies out of that conference. So, Comrade President, Comrade General Secretary, we say, join us as members of the African National Congress. Let us go to this conference. Come there and chant the best of policies that you know are going to take this country to a higher level. Join us in making sure that we so improve education in our country. And let me immediately say that it is you who are sitting here who know best how our education system can be better than what it is. It is you who know the policies that will work best for our education system. So we say, join us in building an education system that will be successful, where the teachers in our country will be making an invaluable contribution as we invest in the future of our children, a future that will make them successful and winners in our country. Across the world, it has been demonstrated that the best way to improve education is to improve the education profession itself. And we say, as you improve yourselves as teachers, as you improve your profession, you will be able also to improve the education system that is so critical. So comrades, the education arena or sector was the place where apartheid really ravaged the future of our country. And it is out of the ashes of this system that you are working in that we expect you to rise like a phoenix. We expect you to fly out like a phoenix and make sure that the education system, which they had wanted to destroy the future of our nation, it is now in your hands, on your shoulders, to make sure that we have a quality education. And you are the people. You are the actors who play a critical role in this education system. So we say rise. Rise, comrades, and make sure that our education system becomes a winning system and it becomes a school or education system that is well equipped for the century that we are in. And where there are problems, let us find ways of resolving those problems and put the interests of our children first. And get rid of all these side problems that detract us from having a good education system. Things like drugs in our schools, violence in our schools, and all the things are under equipment. We must agitate and make sure that we get the right equipment in our schools, and we should never tire. And it is SADTU that must stand at the forefront, campaigning and chanting for equipment that should be in our schools in order for our schooling system to work better. So today, standing here before you as Deputy President, I am saying the nation has bequeathed to you the future of our country in the form of developing our children. And we say we look forward to you as teachers of our nation to take this baton and run with it and make sure that you deliver the best education to the children of our country and make sure that children of South Africa, despite the past that we've had, do start appearing on the top list of international measurements or standards that are often announced. We want you to commit yourselves together with many others of your colleagues who are not here. And this, comrades, is the future that we would like you to be a part of, which you are. And as I end, we thank you once again for having really been the soldiers who have soldiered on and have made sure that you educate our nation. What is now expected is that we must move it to a higher level. And no other group of people, Comrade President, Comrade General Secretary, will be able to take us to another higher level other than you as SADTU and also you as members of other unions that are here. The nation expects a lot from you. Live up to the expectations that the nation has of you, as we thank you dearly for all the work that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrades. Thank you very much. I'm going to request the Deputy President to come back here. Focus of government. May I request the Deputy President to come back here? There is something that the GS want to fulfill. GS, up to you. Oh, President.